Hi, today I will be presenting my academic paper called Attachment Styles and Early Caregiving Environments. So I chose to explore how different attachment styles are formed, how they develop in childhood, and the kind of environments that cause different attachment styles to develop, and to look into what the different types of attachment styles are. As well as not only focusing on how attachment styles are affecting people in childhood, but also in adulthood, in adult romantic relationships. And I was also really curious to explore how different ways of parenting, different environments could affect the development of attachment styles. And the sources I used for this are first the book A Secure Base by John Bowlby, who is the founder of attachment theory, and he collaborated a lot with Ainsworth, so I also used the paper Attachment, Exploration and Separation, Illustrated by the Behavior of 1-year-olds in a Strange Situation by Ainsworth and Bell, where they used what they called the Strange Situation Experiment to explore if attachment existed, if it was a biological thing and not just a theory, and in that case how it looked, how it appeared, how it manifested in children. And then I chose Romantic Love Conceptualized as an Attachment Process by Hassan and Shaver. So they based their research on the works of John Bowlby and Mary Ainsworth. And in that paper, they continue to explore, could this attachment theory about how children and infants behave towards parents, to caregivers, could that be translated into how adults behave in adult relationships? So would the sort of template for how people behave towards, or how children behave towards their primary caregivers, be sort of transferred to their love interest? Would the behaviors be the same? And then finally, I chose the book Mothers and Others, written by Sarah Bluffer Hrdy. She is an anthropologist and a primatologist who specializes in, among other things, anthropology and sociobiology. So she discusses more the environmental things. So these first three sources are only based on psychology, and this book by Sarah Bluffer Hrdy is more focused on the environments, on how humans are evolved, often uniquely evolved among primates, to raise children and to behave towards children. And I was really curious to see how these different perspectives, both the very individualistic perspective, what they would have to say about attachment styles, and what the sort of kind of sociological, biological, evolutionary perspective would have on the environment. So I wanted to compare these two and see sort of what they did. So the questions I had in my paper are, what are the different attachment styles and how do attachment styles develop? Attachment styles in adult romantic relationships, like I talked about before, and the different caregiving structures and their influence on attachment styles. So basically a summary of what I've already explained. I wanted to explore what are the different attachment styles, and what causes them to develop, like what triggers each different attachment styles to be developed. And then how attachment styles affect behavior in adult romantic relationships, and how different caregiving structures could influence the development of attachment styles. And then the results. So to begin with, the childhood attachment. So the works of John Bowlby and Ainsworth and Bell showed that there are three main attachment styles. There is secure attachment, insecure attachment, and avoidant attachment. And the anxious and avoidant attachment are also referred to as insecure attachment. And secure attachment is when a child feels safe in seeking comfort with their caregiver and also in going out and exploring the world on their own. And in an anxious attachment, children feel unsafe in going out and exploring the world on their own, and they cling to their primary caregiver. And after separation, they've also been shown by this study by Ainsworth and Bell, it was shown that when they are reunited with their main caregiver, they will display both clinging and protest behaviors. So they will physically cling to their primary caregiver and also scream, hit them, be very aggressive. So it's basically both kind of behaviors. And that's why it's also referred to as an ambivalent attachment style. And avoidant attachment style, those children are hyper-independent, self-sufficient. They don't cling to their primary caregiver. They don't seek comfort, and they feel more comfortable in exploring the world on their own than sticking around with their primary caregiver. So this was mostly what was shown by the study by Ainsworth and Bell. Where they took several children and put them in a room and with their primary caregiver and explored what happened when they were just in the room with their mother. What did they do, and then what happened? So basically, would they stay with their mother or would they go explore the room? And then what would happen if a stranger entered the room? Which could be considered, scary for the child. So what would happen then? What would they do? And then what would happen if their primary caregiver, the mother, would get up and leave the room? So those were the 3 stages of the experiment that they based their findings on. And this, John Bowlby also used this as empirical data to further his attachment theories. This was, from my understanding at least, a sort of collaboration between them for many, many, many years. And their research together is what Hassan and Shaver based their research on in attachment in adult romantic relationships. So how does sorry, I'm completely blanking. So Hassan and Shaver's research on their paper on how how attachment translates to behavior in adult romantic relationships, and they found that the behaviors did translate. So, for example, people who were avoidant, anxious, or secure attached as children, those same patterns would show up in adulthood as well. And also, interestingly, divorce rates were twice as high among people who were insecurely attached. They reported a lower belief in true love existing, in that love is available and that other people are good or that they are good. So, in summary, they had a lower self-perception of themselves and of other people compared to people with secure attachment styles they were self-confident and they were confident that other people were good and competent and that love would be available to them. And finally, communal caregiving structures. So the works of Sarah Blaffer-Hrdy showed that humans are biologically evolved to, or specifically human infants, human babies are biologically evolved to connect with several adults, not only their primary caregiver, as John Bowlby theorizes. That's the important bond that determines whether or not you develop a secure attachment is your primary caregiver, which in almost every single case is the mother. There are exceptions, but mainly it's the mother. And Sarah Bluffer-Hurdy's work showed, or at least strongly suggested, that a child can have multiple caregivers. In hunter-gatherer societies, so in modern hunter-gatherer societies today, anthropologists have observed all over the world, in every continent, in many cultures, that children, newborn babies, and infants and toddlers seek to connect with many different caregivers the exact same way that they do to their mother. So actively seeking eye contact, smiling, laughing, wanting to engage with several different caregivers. And the reason for this, Sarah Bluffer-Hurdy argues that the reason for this is that it's evolutionarily advantageous for the child to depend on several different caregivers, as people in hunter-gatherer societies don't really manage to gather enough food for them, for their entire family. I think it was approximately 27% at the time, if I remember correctly. They simply would not be able to gather or hunt enough food, enough calories to maintain their body weight every day. So that's pretty high results. But since the group all shares the food and everyone shares food with children, the amount of times they would not be able to get enough food is only, I think it was 3% of the time. So so Hardy argues that children have developed to bond with many different caregivers in order to secure food. That it's part of human nature. It's something innate in humans to bond with many other people, not only their mothers or their parents, but bond with many other people in order to ensure survival of the species, basically. So the discussion part, in my discussion part on the paper, I compared what did I compare? I compared, so sorry, I'm blanking again. And I spent way too much time on this as well. Okay. So I compared mainly I compared the different works between attachment theory by John Bowlby and Sarah Bluffer-Hurdy. Bowlby argues that the most important thing for a child to develop a secure attachment style is the child's bond with their primary caregiver, which is usually their mother. And that is what causes a child to develop secure or insecure attachment, whether or not that bond is good, whether or not that primary caregiver provides resources and provides comfort and love and care when the child needs it. I think I forgot to mention that before in the introductory part. But basically what causes different attachment styles to develop is whether or not the parent is consistently responsive to the child's needs and responds with comfort to their distress. And Bowlby argues that is the primary caregiver's main responsibility. But if we look at Sarah Bluffer-Hurdy's work, then it becomes apparent that humans are biologically not really meant to live in nuclear family systems. We are meant to have many different caregivers, and if that is the case, then we would have lots of different people, lots of different adult caregivers who could provide the needs, oh my goodness, I'm losing the words now. Who can provide for us and meet our needs. There we go. So there would be a lower risk, I guess, to develop an insecure attachment style, because you would have more people around you, more caregivers who could meet those needs.